Good morning, folks. Welcome to Milan, the city that plays host to Europe's biggest and quite possibly best motorcycle show. I am talking about EICMA. This is where all the big brands bring all of their biggest bikes, their newest models and their wildest concepts. Over the next couple of days, we're going to be live at the event. We're going to try and bring you as many of the reveals and new bikes as we can. We've got big bikes from Honda, who are going to be bringing their V3R, we hope. We've also got big bikes from Suzuki, from Ducati, and of course from Norton, the revived British brand, which is unveiling its Manx and Manx R for the very first time to the public. So without further ado, I am going to head to my hotel and then we're going to be straight into the show so that we can bring you all the news as we have it. Right, folks, still here in a very noisy and getting ever so busy EICMA, and I'm on the Suzuki stand taking a look at the new SV7 GX, which is another entry by Suzuki into the middleweight sports touring market. So what they have done with this one is they have gone back to the future, because sitting there in the frame of this new sports tourer is an engine that has been around since Jesus was in short trousers. That is the Suzuki SV650 engine in a sports tourer chassis. Now, Suzuki couldn't just put the SV650 in a sporty tourer chassis and expect it to work. So what they have done, they have bumped up the specification of the bike and the engine quite considerably. So they've given it a ride-by-wire throttle. So the cable-operated throttle has gone. The ride-by-wire throttle opens up riding modes, things like lean-sensitive traction control and lean-sensitive ABS. So it's got our IMU control. You've also got a big TFT dash up there as well. It gets a quick shifter as standard. It's putting out around about 74 bhp, about 47 pound-foot of torque. So it's kind of right on the money for this kind of lightweight sports tourer. It will be going up against things like the Yamaha Tracer 7. Also be going up against the Triumph Tiger Sport 660. And it's an interesting prospect. I mean, it's nice to see a V-twin back in this segment, because pretty much every other bike that arrives is a parallel twin with a cross-plane crank. So it's nice to see that Suzuki have given it that V-twin power plant from the SV650. It's also slightly confusing. What I mean by that is Suzuki has already got the V-Strom 800s, which are of course a parallel twin with a 270-degree cross-plane crank. So quite why they've gone this way when they've already got a bike in that segment is slightly confusing to some people, but I think a lot of people do like the character of that V-twin architecture. It gives a very different feel. I know the 270-degree crank can mimic the feel of a V-twin, mimic the sound, it mimics the delivery, but it's just not quite the same. And that SV650 engine, it is a peach of an engine. It's a really, really nice, tractable little engine. Easy to get along with. It's got just enough punch for road riding. Would you want to take this thing across a continent with two people and all the luggage in the world? You probably wouldn't. But for light commuting and occasional light touring, think of it a little bit like this. This is kind of like a Suzuki SV650 with a bit more ability, longer legs, 200 miles between fill-ups. You've got quite a healthy sized fuel tank up there. And all the rider modes and sort of gizmos that you need from a modern sports tourer. So an interesting prospect from Suzuki. They've not gone totally overboard, but then again, this is Suzuki. They're never really ones for going totally overboard on their new models, but it's nice to see that they've used EICMA to sort of showcase another new model. So got quite used to Suzuki bringing out their models at EICMA. We had the, I think it was the GSX 8R last year at EICMA, or possibly the year before. But good to see that they've brought something out, and that SV650 engine will again be living on in another model that we will probably be talking about for millennia. Good afternoon, folks. We are here at EICMA, and as you can see, I am on the Norton stand, getting a little bit of FaceTime with the new Manx and Manx R. The show has just opened, so I've kind of got here a little bit before the crowds to try and get some space. So I'm going to talk you through the bikes. Now, I've seen these bikes a few times. So we went to the TVS factory. We saw the engines in the engine building room at TVS. We also saw them at the Solihull factory, and I saw them the other night at an exclusive preview over here in Milan. So what exactly is the Manx? Well, the Manx R. It is a 206 horsepower superbike with 95 pound-foot of torque. So Norton are targeting a kilogram per bhp with these things. So that gives you a clue of the weight. In a nutshell, it is a completely new motorcycle. As you can see, it looks very, very different stylistically from the old V4 SV that the TVS ownership of Norton went to town on and reworked after the Garner era V4s were all built. But the problem with the previous generation V4, the V4 and the V4 SV, was that it was already kind of 10 years late. By the time it had arrived, it was already sort of superseded and outdated. It didn't have all the tech and advancements that modern superbikes get. So you hadn't got cornering ABS, you hadn't got cornering traction control. It was conventional 2-channel systems, and even stuff like the dashboard of the old Norton SV already looked a little bit dated. So what Norton have done, they basically tore up the old bikes effectively and started from fresh. So gone is the tubular sort of welded frame of the old bikes, and they've got this die-cast perimeter frame. The engine is completely new, so it's still a V4, it's still 1200cc, but it's been completely revised and reworked and redesigned by the new Norton team. But they are uber trick looking in every single way. So some headline features of them. So you've got all the electronics that you'd need via the TFT down there. So you've got all your cornering ABS, slope dependent rear lift mitigation. You've got your cornering traction control, you've got your wheelie control, you've got launch control as well if you want to play with that. You have also got this system here, which is semi-active electronically adjusted suspension. So that comes from the Italian specialist Marzocchi. Down here on the chassis hardware, we have got Brembo's top spec high pure calipers. So they are about as good as you can get on a road bike. And this one is fitted with BST carbon fibre wheels, which as you can see look absolutely gorgeous, especially at rear wheel with the single-sided swing arm. It really makes the most of that carbon fibre look. The styling, right, I'm going to just talk about the styling just very quickly, just because it's been quite a contentious element to them has been the way that they've been designed. Now, these have been designed by somebody, or kind of the design direction of the new Norton range and the Norton brand is the brainchild of somebody called Jerry McGovern. Now, Jerry McGovern isn't a well-known motorcycle designer. He actually works for JLR, Land Rover. He's the brainchild of a lot of the most recent Land Rovers, Discoveries, Range Rovers. He also designed the Jaguar that was oh so contentious that got released not long ago, the big sort of long, low pink thing that got released. He was the person who didn't design the look of the bike, he designed what he thought the vision of it should be. So it is very different to the modern superbikes that we've got on the road. So you think about your Panigales, your Aprilia RSVs, even the latest generation Kawasaki ZX-10R Ninja has got winglets, it's got, bits hanging off it. What Norton wanted to do with the new the new Manx R, is to keep it all very, very clean. So as you can see, it hasn't got any winglets. The headlights are quite big, they're quite bold. There aren't huge great air ducts that kind of overpower the headlights. And the general lines of the bike are very clean and very muscular. What they also didn't want to do, there's a bit of a thing in superbikes and sports bikes where they give it a real front end down sort of stance, and the tail unit is all sort of kicked up at the back. You see it with things like the Panigale, so it's kind of like big at the front, and then there's almost seems like it sort of ends a little bit too early at the rear of the bike. What Norton wanted to do, they wanted to create a bike that was a little bit more in proportion. So the lines kind of flow from the front to the back, sort of making it, according to the Norton design team, sort of making it look like it's doing 100 miles an hour while it's standing still. And I know that is an absolute cliche, but those are the words that they used. So what don't we know about the Manx R? We don't know the price yet. I can tell you that it's probably not going to be cheap. I mean, they're billing this as a premium product, and Norton's new team say that they want to be building the most desirable motorcycles in the world that money can buy. And if you're offering that up to the general public, it is not going to be a cut price machine by any stretch of the imagination. Not sure when these are going to be landing. It's likely that this will be a 2026 model year a bike. We're not going to be seeing it out on the roads for quite some time, but I would expect events like next year's 2026's Goodwood Festival of Speed. You're probably going to be seeing these flying up and down the famous drive at Goodwood House. Another piece of information that I got told the other night, I was talking to Brian Gillen, who is the lead chief engineer at Norton Motorcycles. He was formerly a MV Augusta design engineer, led the design and the engineering team at MV Augusta for quite some time. He said there are going to be multiple versions of the Manx R. So I asked a little bit more about what that means. Basically, you're going to have sort of two or three spec levels. So you'll have the one like this, which is dripping in carbon fibre, and yeah, all of these fairings that are painted silver, they are all carbon fibre as well. So you're going to have these ones with all the carbon fibre and the carbon fibre wheels, and then there'll be a slightly lower spec one with less carbon fibre, and then there will be a base model as well. So I don't know whether or not they're all going to be getting stuff like the Marzocchi semi-active suspension. I'm not too sure. Time will tell on that one. But that is the new Norton Manx R. They have also brought to the show the Manx, which is the naked bike over there, but they haven't given us any specs for that. So I can only speculate as to what the sort of the performance figures of it are. Obviously uses the same frame, the same basic chassis componentry and the same V4 engine as the Manx R, but they haven't officially released the specs for it. So we'll sit tight until we get them. Also, Norton surprised us with a couple of adventure bikes. So we have got the Atlas GTs. So these are 585cc parallel twins with a 270-degree crank. Very modern, forward-looking with their design. You've got a GT version with the cast wheels that you can see there, and there is, if we look over the other side of the stage over there are two bikes that have got spoked wheels. So they're more your off-road inclined versions of the Atlas GT. So a very different proposition from the Atlas that we saw when Mr. Garner was in charge of Norton. So yeah, it's a real bold design direction from Norton, but they really had to be. They couldn't rinse and repeat what the previous owners of Norton Motorcycles were doing. They had to do something different. They had to go their own way. And they've definitely got people talking, because the Norton stand for the entirety of this show has been absolutely swamped with people wanting to get a little look at these bikes. Right folks, we are here on the Royal Enfield stand at EICMA, and I just wanted to get a little closer look at a bike that we've covered quite extensively on Visordown, which is, of course, Royal Enfield's electric Himalayan test bed. So this is the bike that we saw being tested and put through its paces up in the Himalayas, when they're also doing some testing on another bike, which I'm going to go and show you in a moment. But just really, this is just all about the electric Himalayan test bed. So there was a lot of speculation around this model, and Visordown got a bit of an exclusive with the people from Royal Enfield. So we interviewed Mario Alvisi, who was the person heading up the electric range from Royal Enfield, and we got an exclusive interview with him, because there were some rumours floating around on social media and on some different outlets about what this bike was, when it was going to be released and how much it would be, etc. Got to break it to you, unfortunately, it is not a bike that is ever going to go into production, Royal Enfield claim. It is literally a test bed. It is a bike that is designed to help Royal Enfield with the development of its electric powertrains for the future. So there is stuff in it, learnings from it, and technology that's been developed on this bike that is going into the Flying Flea electric bikes that we've already seen. But it's never actually going to hit the road, not in this form at least. But it is a very interesting prospect. I mean, it was about 2 or 3 years ago we saw the first electric Himalayan test mule at EICMA, and it kind of looked like a real Heath Robinson sort of design thing. It wouldn't have looked out of place in the film Short Circuit, in that it was all ancillary electrics and consumer grade electrics were bolted onto a frame that looked just like the old Himalayan, and it was all very rough and very ready. And then we saw this thing being tested up in the Himalayas, and all of a sudden it looked much more production and much more ready to go on the roads. But that is not the case. That's not what's happening. This is just so Royal Enfield can hone the things like its traction control. I mean, Royal Enfield just over there in the background, there is the new Royal Enfield Flying Flea electric scrambler. So some of the learnings, and I was talking to one of the engineers from Royal Enfield last night, some of the learnings that were picked up on this bike in the Himalayas have already landed in the scrambler. Maybe not in their exact form as they were in this bike, but you know, some of the problems that they had to overcome with this bike helped them to design and develop the new Flying Flea models that are on the other side of the stand. As you can see, I've only just noticed this has got electronically adjusted suspension on the test bed, which is a very interesting innovation. But yeah, a very, very cool thing. They've got a whole fleet of these. They had a load of sort of celebrities and well-known motorcycle types, including Carlos Checa, who was testing it up in the Himalayas. And as you can see, never actually noticed this, it's got a Stark powertrain, which is quite interesting. So I'm going to go from one adventure bike to another. I'm just going to walk over to the other side of the Royal Enfield stand, because when Royal Enfield was testing the electric Himalayan test bed up in the Himalayas, they were also pictured testing another bike which is residing in this crate over here. So this is the Himalayan 750 prototype test mule, whatever you want to call it. So it's instantly recognisable as a Royal Enfield and as a Himalayan. It's got that very distinctive stance. You've got a reworked and revised engine which is sort of based on the Interceptor and the Continental GT, but it is said to be 750cc in capacity, so it's got a slightly longer legs than those two models. But this, I think, is a very different proposition. This, I think, is something that we will be seeing on the roads very soon. Norton's got no reason to just use this platform as a testbed or as a development system for bikes of the future. I think, and a lot of people think, this is something we are going to see, and it's probably going to be at EICMA 2026 that we see the actual production version of it. I'm just going to go around this side here so we can get a better view of the other side. But yeah, we've got that familiar dash from the latest generation Himalayans, which is like the circular TFT. You can get your turn-by-turn navigation in there. We've got remote preload adjuster on the suspension. Suspension looks like it's got decent amounts of travel to it. Bi-brake brakes. You know, there's nothing outlandish on this bike. There's no Öhlins, there's no super trick calipers. It's all quite simple, quite rugged, and very much in keeping with the Royal Enfield Himalayan range. So that is an exciting bike, and that is something. I'm just going to go around here. There's the Bear 650 that we went on the launch on not long ago. But that is a very exciting model. I think that will be something that will go down very, very well. The Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 is a great little travel enduro. It's a fantastic adventure bike. It's lightweight, it's responsive, it's super, super easy to ride. That's the biggest plus I can give it. It's so easy to ride. And the faster you ride that little Himalayan 450 that you can see over there, the better and better it gets. But some people, myself included actually, would like a little bit more guts from the Himalayan, and this looks to be the bike to do it. Right folks, we're still here at EICMA day 2, just mopping up some bits of video, and I have come to have a little bit of a closer look at this, which is the Benda P51. It looks like a fairly conventional 250, well, it just looks like a Boxer twin to be honest with you, but this is a 250cc engine, so quite a small Boxer twin, but this thing is reputed to be putting out around about 62 horsepower and 100 newton meters of torque, so that's somewhere in the region of 50 to 60 pound-foot of torque from a 250. And how exactly is it doing it? Well, this is a hybrid. Stuck down there underneath the engine, underneath the combustion engine, you have got the electric motor generator, which runs directly through the crankshaft of the bike. Mounted down here underneath the foot pegs, we have got a small battery pack. And then sitting on top of the whole thing, we have got that 250cc Boxer twin. Physically, looks much, much bigger than 250cc. I've got to say that in terms of the actual engine, the mechanics of it. Another interesting point about it, it doesn't have any gears. I don't know if you can see down there on the left side of the bike, there is no gear lever at all on either side. So what this has is just a single speed, and you just run up through the gears, a bit like a fully electric bike, but you just go up through the gear, go up through the rev range, and top speed you'll be at top revs. And the way that it does it, it's got an exceptionally long gear ratio. So the final drive of the bike is really very, very long. So obviously a 250cc internal combustion engine would never be able to contend with that. It wouldn't have the torque to make the thing move. So that's why Benda have employed the hybrid unit. So they've got the torque at low RPM from the electric motor to get the thing rolling. And then once it's up to speed, the petrol engine can sort of take over. And the petrol engine can also help to generate the electricity for the electric motor. So it's quite innovative. It's not really something that we've seen from any manufacturers before. I'm just going to get out this cameraman's way. It's not really something we've seen from any manufacturers. I mean, Kawasaki have got their hybrid system. It's been reviewed. It didn't receive the best reviews, I don't think, from a lot of people. It seemed a little bit confused in terms of the way the modes work, and the actual day-to-day driving of it can feel a little bit odd. Maybe this is a better way to go. Maybe having something that's a little simpler in terms of just, no gearbox and just drive to the rear wheel direct from the engine and motor. Maybe that is a better way to go. So there we go. We have one fairly innovative engine from Benda. Let's just go over here because there's some other stuff that I want to show you. So Benda have also brought some of their sort of concept engines, for want of a better phrase. We've got an inline 4-cylinder 550cc engine there. Just looks pretty stock and standard. Not a lot to talk about. Then we come on to this. So we've got a 700 or nearly 700cc Boxer twin, and I was talking to Konstantin, who's the European marketing manager for Benda, and he was telling me that this Boxer twin that is in front of me here could be retrofitted with a hybrid drive system just like the P51. So this is obviously a 700 twin, probably pushing out somewhere in the region of between 75 and 95 horsepower. Then you stick a hybrid drive unit on the thing. What's it going to be doing then? It's quite an interesting prospect. But it's good to see that Benda are thinking outside the box. They are also thinking inside the box with this next one, because this is their inline 6-cylinder. So this is a 1685cc. It's got very similar internal dimensions to those found in the BMW K1600 engine. So it's got the same diameter pistons, but the bore has been stretched slightly to give it that slightly increased displacement over the BMW unit. So Benda are developing this as an engine for their future road bikes. They haven't said what it's going to go into, but we can see that there is an output shaft there. I would say Benda is going to stick to what everybody else who makes this kind of engine is going to be doing, and it's going to be going into some heavyweight, sort of super premium touring bike, I would have thought, possibly a cruiser. But this again is a concept engine. I mean, I'm sure that Benda have done thousands of hours of dyno testing and development with this thing, but I would say that at some point in the next 6 to 12 months we are actually going to see patent images or leaked photos showing what this engine is going to be landing in, and also with the 700 Boxer twin there as well. But that was just a really just wanted to focus on that P51, because for me that's just a nice piece of innovation that we've not really seen much of at EICMA. Hybrid bikes still haven't really fired the imagination, but maybe if you can combine the feel and the sound of a conventional internal combustion engine with the efficiency and the performance of an electric motor, maybe that's a better way to go.